If Cody Rhodes attacked Pat McAfee backstage, what would Emanuel actually think? This is the question we're exploring today on WWE Express, and trust me, the business and storyline implications are absolutely wild. Subscribe to WWE Express and ring the notification bell for our latest updates if you're a WWE fan. Let's dive in. When you think about TKO's corporate structure, you have to understand that Emanuel and his team aren't just booking matches. They're managing brands, protecting investments, and making calculated decisions about which narratives drive revenue. A Cody Rhodes backstage assault on Pat McAfee isn't just a storyline beat. It's a business decision that touches every layer of how WWE operates, and we need to talk about why Emanuel would either absolutely love this angle or completely shut it down. Here's the thing about Cody Rhodes that everyone overlooks. He's not just a performer anymore. He's been positioned as WWE's modern-day conscience, the guy who makes decisions based on principle and legacy. When you attack someone like Pat McAfee backstage, you're not just escalating a physical conflict. You're burning a bridge with someone who has mainstream credibility, podcast reach, and a connection to sports entertainment that extends beyond wrestling's traditional bubble. Pat McAfee isn't just talent. He's a personality with leverage. And Emanuel would immediately recognize that. But here's where it gets interesting from a narrative standpoint. If WWE wanted to tell the story of Cody Rhodes finally snapping, if they wanted to show that his pursuit of championship glory has corrupted his moral compass, that attack becomes a watershed moment. It says that Cody is willing to compromise his integrity for competitive advantage. That's the kind of character depth that drives PPV buys. That's the kind of turn that makes fans question everything they thought they knew about a guy they've been behind for 3 straight years. Emanuel, being the executive he is, would immediately think about the business angle. What does this do for a Cody versus Pat confrontation? Does it elevate their next interaction? Does it add heat to an angle that might have been cooling off? Does it give WWE an opportunity to explore a new dynamic where Cody's desperation becomes a central narrative point? These are the questions running through a CEO's mind when something like a backstage attack happens. Now, let's talk about what Emanuel actually cares about. He cares about quarterly earnings, streaming metrics, and long-term brand equity. A Cody Rhodes attack on Pat McAfee would trigger an immediate assessment. Is this helping or hurting the overall product? Does this strengthen Cody's heel turn, or does it damage his marketability? TKO owns both WWE and UFC. They understand how mainstream crossover appeal works. Pat McAfee represents that crossover. He brings people to wrestling who normally wouldn't watch. Touching that asset in the wrong way could cost millions in potential audience reach. That said, Emanuel would also recognize the storytelling goldmine here. If handled correctly, a Cody attack on Pat becomes the catalyst for one of WWE's biggest grudge matches. You could build to a legitimate WrestleMania confrontation where all the philosophical questions about what Cody has become culminate in a brutal singles match. That's a draw. That's PPV revenue. That's the kind of narrative that keeps people talking for weeks. Emanuel understands that wrestling at its best is about creating must-see moments, and a Cody vs. Pat match, with the backstage attack as the turning point, absolutely qualifies. But here's what really matters in Emanuel's decision-making process: control. Does WWE maintain narrative control if they greenlight this angle? Can they tell the story in a way that serves both Cody's character evolution and the broader competitive landscape? Or does this become a sloppy conflict that confuses audience loyalty and damages both men's marketability? From a talent perspective, this would be fascinating for both Cody and Pat. For Cody, it's the final corruption of a hero narrative. He's not the guy saving WWE anymore. He's the guy willing to do anything to keep his position at the top. That's compelling television. For Pat, it's an opportunity to be positioned as the victim of Cody's ambition, which actually strengthens his positioning as someone worth protecting, someone whose physical safety matters enough that it drives other wrestlers crazy. The psychology gets deeper when you consider that Pat McAfee doesn't just appear on WWE television. He's become